Tom Brennan's coffee went cold the instant he saw blood on the limestone. Fresh blood. Still glistening in the dawn light where it pooled in the sacred carved symbols the Apache had chiseled generations back. His hand moved to the Winchester across his saddle, then stopped. No shots fired, no war cries, just blood. And the morning birds gone silent. The bay mare shifted under him, nostrils flaring. She smelled it too, that copper tang mixing with sage and dust. Tom had smelled enough blood at Antietam to know when there was too much of it. Someone was dying. He should turn around, ride back to his cabin, bolt the door, and wait for whatever storm was coming to pass over. That's what a smart man would do. What the townspeople expected him to do. Stay on his fence. Don't choose sides. Survive another day. But the blood trail led toward the cottonwoods. His cottonwoods on his land, where his spring fed into the creek, and it was fresh enough that whoever bled it might still be breathing. Tom swung down from Bell, keeping the rifle in hand. The blood drops made a clear line through the rabbit brush, someone crawling, dragging themselves toward water. He followed, boots crunching on frost-brittle grass, until he saw her. Apache woman, young, maybe 25, arrow shaft jutting from her left shoulder, the kind of wound that meant someone wanted her to die slow. Her doe-skin dress dark with blood, beaded patterns across the chest marking her as somebody important, somebody's daughter, somebody's wife. Her eyes opened when his shadow fell across her face. Black eyes, fever bright but fierce. Her hand moved to the knife at her belt, fingers too weak to draw it. "Easy," Tom said, though he figured she didn't understand English. He set the rifle against a cottonwood, showed empty hands. "Easy now." She tried to speak. Blood bubbled on her lips. Her hand moved from the knife to her stomach. Protective gesture he'd seen before. Christ. She was with child. Tom looked back toward the ridge. Empty skyline. But that meant nothing. Apache could be invisible when they wanted. Town was 12 miles east, too far to get help, and nobody would come anyway. Not for an Apache, not even Sarah Mills, who still spoke to him at Bronson's store. The woman's breathing went ragged, rattling in her chest. Decision time. "Hell and damnation," Tom muttered, already kneeling beside her. The arrow had to come out. He'd seen men die from leaving them in, infection spreading like wildfire through the body. But pulling it could kill her just as quick if it had hit something vital. Her eyes tracked his movements as he examined the wound. The arrow entered high, above the lung. Maybe, just maybe, it had missed everything important. He'd pulled worse out of boys at Antietam. Of course, most of those boys died anyway. But some didn't. Some made it. "This is gonna hurt," he told her, pulling his knife. She watched him cut away the doe skin around the wound. Didn't make a sound even when he had to peel fabric from dried blood. Tough as boot leather, these Apache women. Tougher than most men he'd known. The arrow was Apache make. He recognized the fletching style. Her own people had done this. That changed things. Made them both outcasts now. Maybe. Tom gripped the shaft. Her hand suddenly seized his wrist, stronger than he expected. Those black eyes bore into his, and she nodded once. Permission. Understanding. He pulled. She arched against the ground, teeth clenched on a scream. But the arrow came free clean. Blood flowed fresh, but not the bright arterial spray that meant death. Tom pressed his shirt against it, wadded up tight, holding pressure like the field surgeons taught him. "We need to move," he said. She probably didn't understand, but talking helped him think. "Can't stay here. Too exposed." Her hand moved again, fumbling at her belt. Not the knife, something else, a small leather pouch, beaded like her dress. She pressed it into his hand, urgent, eyes wide. Inside, he felt something hard and flat, like a coin. But not. Tom started to look, but hoofbeats changed his mind. Coming fast from the west, too fast for casual riding. He shoved the pouch in his pocket, slipped his arms under the woman, She weighed less than he expected. Bird bones and fever heat. "My place is close," he said, lifting her. "Quarter mile? We can make it." But could they? The hoofbeats were getting louder. More than one rider. And Tom Brennan was about to carry a bleeding Apache woman onto his property. Doctor her wounds. Hide her from whoever was coming. 5 years he'd walked the line between the two worlds. 5 years of careful neutrality, not choosing sides, just trying to live on his piece of land. That was ending now. Ending with blood on limestone and a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. The woman's head lolled against his shoulder as he carried her toward his cabin. Behind them, the hoofbeats turned to thunder. Ahead, his empty house waited. That second place setting at his table about to mean something different than memory. Tom kicked open his door just as the first riders crested the ridge. He glimpsed them, Apache warriors, painted for war, before slamming it shut and dropping the bolt. The woman's eyes had closed, her breathing shallow. Blood seeped through his pressed shirt, pooling on his floor. He laid her on his bed, grabbed the medical kit from his army days, carbolic, laudanum, needle and gut thread. His hands remembered the motions even after 15 years. But as he worked, that leather pouch weighed heavy in his pocket. When he finally had a moment, the woman's breathing steadier, the bleeding stopped. He pulled it out, opened it with careful fingers. Inside was a U.S. cavalry button, officer's insignia, and wrapped around it, a lock of auburn hair that sure as hell didn't come from any Apache head. Tom stared at the button, mind racing. He knew that insignia, knew the regiment. Captain James Morrison's unit, stationed at Fort Grant. Morrison, who had a young wife. Morrison, who'd been found dead 3 months back, supposedly killed in an Apache raid. Morrison, whose wife had auburn hair and had vanished the same night, supposedly taken captive. Outside, someone pounded on his door. Apache voices, harsh and demanding. The woman on his bed stirred, mumbling something that sounded like a name, not an Apache name. "Julia," she whispered, clear as day. Julia Morrison. Tom's blood went cold as everything he thought he understood shattered like winter ice. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. The pounding rattled the door hinges. Apache voices. 3 distinct ones, maybe 4. Tom's fingers tightened on the cavalry button until its edges bit into his palm. The woman Julia Morrison stirred on the bed. Her lips moved. No sound coming out. The bandages across her shoulder already showed red seeping through. Another slam against the door. Wood splintered near the bolt. Tom shoved the button back in the pouch, dropped it behind the flour barrel. His boot steps to the window sounded too loud on the plank floor. Through the gap in the shutters, 5 Apache warriors, paint across their faces, rifles ready. The one in front, tall with silver discs on his vest, raised his fist to pound again. "I know you're in there, white man." English, accented but clear. "We track her here." Tom's throat went dry. His Winchester leaned against the wall by the bed. Too far. The Colt on his hip, 6 shots, 5 men. "She's dying," Tom called back. Truth enough. "Fever took her in the night." Silence. Then the tall one spoke rapid Apache to the others. Tom caught maybe 2 words. His Apache was barn door basic. "You lie," the tall one said. "We see blood trail, fresh." The woman moaned. Tom watched her eyelids flutter, showing white. If she spoke again, said that name. "Check if you want," Tom said. He lifted the bolt, cracked the door 2 inches. The barrel of a Springfield rifle immediately filled the gap. "But plague's been running through the territory. You want to risk it?" The rifle barrel didn't move. Through the crack, Tom saw the tall Apache's eyes, intelligent, calculating. Behind him, the others shifted on their horses. "What plague?" Suspicion thickened the voice. Cholera. Maybe typhus. Tom let his voice crack. Sold it with a cough. Why you think I'm out here alone? Town won't have me back till I'm clear of it. The rifle barrel withdrew an inch. Tom heard rapid Apache discussion. One word repeated goes on. Death sickness. The woman's breathing changed. Faster, shallow. Her hand moved to her belly again. That protective curl. Tom's eyes caught something he'd missed before her wedding ring was gone. But the tan line remained. Fresh. Removed recently. We will look, the tall Apache said. Tom's hand found his Colt's grip. The woman's eyes opened fully. Focused. Alert. She was listening. Understanding every word. Tom stepped back, opening the door wider. The tall Apache ducked through, Springfield rifle leading. His eyes swept the cabin's single room, narrow bed against the far wall. The woman lying still as stone. There. Tom nodded toward her. See for yourself. The Apache moved closer. 3 steps. 4. The woman's chest barely rose and fell. Tom's fingers stayed on the Colt, watching the Apache's shoulders for the tension that meant violence coming. The warrior stopped 5 feet from the bed. His nostrils flared. Blood smell, medicine smell, fever smell. But no death rot. Not yet. Show me her face. Tom crossed to the bed, aware of the rifle tracking him. He pulled back the blanket from her chin. Her skin had gone gray-pale except for 2 fever spots burning on her cheeks. Eyes closed, lips cracked. She looked 3 days dead except for the sweat beading on her forehead. The Apache studied her. This is not the woman we seek. Tom's chest loosened a fraction. Told you. Found her yesterday by the creek. Figured her for Mexican. Maybe breed. The woman we seek is Apache. Well, this one ain't. Tom let some irritation creep in. Sell it. Now you've seen. I got a sick woman to tend. The warrior's eyes moved to the bandages. Arrow wound. Comancheros, probably. Been raiding the valley. Tom pulled the blanket back up. You want to stand here till she dies or let me work? Long silence. The rifle lowered an inch. The Apache backed toward the door, still watching Tom. At the threshold, he stopped. If you lie, white man, we will return. I'm not lying about the sickness. True enough. The Apache left. Tom waited until the hoofbeats faded before bolting the door. His shirt stuck to his back, soaked through. The woman's eyes opened immediately. They're gone, he said. She tried to speak. Only a rasp came out. Tom fetched water, helped her drink. Her skin burned against his hand as he supported her head. Julia Morrison, she whispered. I figured that part. Tom set down the cup. Question is why you're dressed Apache and why they want you dead. Her eyes closed. Later. The fever hit full force as darkness fell. She thrashed on the bed, speaking broken Apache, then English, then Apache again. Tom held her shoulders, keeping her from tearing the stitches. Her strength surprised him fever wild. She nearly threw him off twice. James, she cried out. James, no, don't. Tom pressed a wet cloth to her forehead. The laudanum bottle sat on the table, maybe 4 doses left. He'd been saving it, but for what? She needed it now. He measured out a careful spoonful, got it between her lips. She swallowed, coughed, swallowed again. The thrashing eased, but the fever climbed. Her skin went from hot to burning. Tom had seen men's brains cook from fever, leaving them simple or dead. He stripped the blanket, soaked rags in spring water, laid them across her forehead, her wrists, her throat. The cotton dried in minutes. He wet them again. Again. His back screamed from bending over the bed, but he kept working. Midnight. Her breathing went shallow, barely there. Tom lit another candle, his last. The yellow light made her face corpse white except for those fever spots like blood drops on snow. Mrs. Morrison. He gripped her hand. Julia, you need to fight. No response. Her fingers lay limp in his. 1 a.m. The breathing got worse. Ragged gasps with long spaces between. Tom had heard that sound before. Death rattle, the surgeons called it. Last air leaving failing lungs. 2 a.m. She went still. Tom pressed his ear to her chest. Heartbeat there, but wrong. Too fast, then too slow. Skipping beats. He pulled his chair close, took her hand again. The wedding ring tan line stared at him. Captain Morrison found dead. Wife vanished. Now she shows up shot by Apache while dressed as one. The story behind that would be something, but only if she lived to tell it. 3 a.m. Her breathing stopped. Tom counted. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. 3. She gasped, body arching. Another breath. Another. But wet sounding now, fluid in the lungs. No. The word came out before Tom could stop it. He lifted her shoulders, propped her higher. The wet sound eased, but didn't stop. Not like this. Not again. His wife Mary had sounded like that at the end. The baby turned wrong. Too much blood. Then the fever that followed. 3 days of wet breathing before silence. Tom found himself on his knees beside the bed. He hadn't prayed since Mary, hadn't seen the point, but the words came anyway. Please, not again. Let this one live. 4 a.m. The breathing steadied, still wet, but regular. Tom dozed in the chair, jerking awake every time the rhythm changed. His hand stayed on her wrist, counting pulse beats. 5 a.m. First gray light through the shutters. Tom's eyes burned. His back was locked in a question mark. The woman's fever hadn't broken. If anything, she felt hotter. He fetched more water. The bucket was almost empty. He'd have to go to the spring soon. But not yet. Couldn't leave her yet. He wet the cloth again, started to lay it on her forehead. Her hand caught his wrist. Tom looked down. Her eyes were open, clear, focused on his face. You stayed, she whispered. Yeah. She squeezed his fingers once, weak but deliberate. Thank you without words. Tom offered water. She drank slow, careful sips. Color started returning to her face, not fever flush, but real color. When she finished drinking, she looked at him straight on. They killed James because he found out. Found out what? About the guns. Her voice cracked. Winchester repeaters, new model, 200 of them. She gripped his hand harder. Hidden at Fort Grant. Tom's blood chilled. 200 rifles in Apache hands would turn the territory into a slaughterhouse. Who's selling them? He asked. Her eyes moved to the window. Morning sun painted a yellow square on the floor. When she looked back, her face had gone hard as any Apache warrior's. The Indian agent, Samuel Crenshaw. She tried to sit up, fell back. And Tom, he knows I'm alive. Tom's fingers went numb around the water cup. Samuel Crenshaw, the Indian agent who preached peace at Sunday service and counted government beef that never made it to the reservation. How long since James died? Tom asked. 3 months? Julia tried to push herself up on her good arm. The movement pulled at her stitches. Fresh blood spotted the bandage. I need to get word to Fort Huachuca. Colonel Brennan. You need to lay still. Tom pressed her back down. Those stitches won't hold if you keep moving. She grabbed his sleeve. You don't understand. The rifles are moving in 4 days. New moon. If Crenshaw... Hoofbeats. Tom's head snapped toward the window. Single rider. Coming from town direction. He knew that horse's gait, Sheriff Whelan's paint mare with the slight hitch in her front leg. "Can you stand?" Julia nodded, though her face went white at the effort. Tom got his arm under her good shoulder, lifted her off the bed, her legs buckled. He held her weight, half carried her to the corner where the root cellar hatch lay hidden under a worn buffalo hide. "Down here. Quick!" He pulled the hide back, lifted the wooden hatch. The cellar was barely 4 feet deep, 6 feet square. Julia looked at the ladder, then at her shoulder. "I can't climb." Tom lowered her down, taking her weight until her feet touched dirt. She collapsed against the earth wall, breathing hard. The space smelled of turnips and preserved peaches. "Don't make a sound." Tom dropped a candle and matches down. "There's cracks between the floorboards for air." He dropped the hatch, kicked the buffalo hide back over it, dragged his chair on top. The hoofbeats stopped outside. Tom grabbed the bloody bandages from the table, stuffed them in the stove. The bed bloodstains on the mattress. He flipped it, tucked the blanket tight. 3 knocks. Official. Patient. Tom opened the door. Sheriff Whelan stood there, star glinting in morning sun, hand resting casual on his colt. Gray mustache. Gray eyes that missed nothing. "Tom." "Sheriff." Whelan's gaze moved past Tom into the cabin. "Mind if I come in? Coffee's on." Tom stepped back. The sheriff entered, eyes doing that lawman's sweep bed, table, stove, shelves. He stopped at the table where Tom's medical kit lay open. Carbolic, gut thread, bloody needle. "Cut yourself." "Fence work." Bell spooked. Drove my hand into barbed wire. Whelan picked up the laudanum bottle, nearly empty. "Must have hurt considerable." "It did." The sheriff set the bottle down, walked to the window. His boot caught the edge of the buffalo hide. Tom's throat closed. Whelan looked down, nudged the hide with his toe. The chair on top of it didn't move. "Heard there was some excitement yesterday. Apache war party riding through." "Didn't see any war party." "No." Whelan turned from the window. "Benson's boy said he saw them headed this direction. Benson's boy sees Apache behind every rock." The sheriff smiled without humor. "True enough." He walked to the bed, ran his hand along the tightly tucked blanket. "You been sleeping?" "Not much. Bed's made awful neat for a bachelor." Tom shrugged. "Army habits." Whelan sat on the bed. The mattress creaked. If he felt the dampness from the flipped side, he didn't show it. His eyes stayed on Tom's face. "Funny thing, those Apache were tracking someone. A woman. They said." "That's so. Apache woman who stole something from them. Something valuable." The sheriff stood, walked toward the chair over the cellar. "You haven't seen anyone like that." Tom's pulse hammered in his ears. "Just you." Whelan laughed. Actually laughed. "Fair enough." He stopped beside the chair. "Mind if I sit long ride from town?" "Take the bed. Chair's got a bad leg." The sheriff looked at the chair. Solid oak Tom had built himself. Then at Tom, something passed between them, some understanding. "The bed's fine." Whelan sat back on the mattress edge. "Tom, you know I've always played straight with you." "You have. And you know I got a job to do." "I know that too." The sheriff pulled out his tobacco pouch, started rolling a cigarette. His fingers stayed steady, but Tom noticed he kept glancing at the floor near the chair. "Sometimes, though, a man's job and what's right don't line up perfect." Whelan lit the cigarette, blue smoke curling up. "Times like that, a smart lawman knows when to push and when to let things be." Tom said nothing. "Take Captain Morrison, for instance." The sheriff's eyes sharpened. "Terrible thing. Him dying like that. Apache raid. They said, of course. Funny thing about that raid, no other casualties. Just the captain. and his wife vanishing the same night. The floor creaked. Not from either of them. From below. Whelan's eyes flicked down, then back to Tom. Old cabins. Always settling. Wood shrinks in the heat. That it does. The sheriff stood, walked to the door. Tom, I'm going to give you some advice. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't. This territory's about to explode. Apache are stirring. Army's jumpy. And folks are choosing sides. I'm not choosing anything. Just trying to live. Whelan looked back at him. Man who stands in the middle of a fight gets hit from both directions. He touched his hat brim. You take care, Tom. And if you happen to find anything at all that might help keep the peace, you know where to find me. The sheriff left. Tom waited until the hoofbeats faded before pulling the chair away, lifting the hatch. Julia's face appeared, pale in the cellar darkness, cobwebs in her hair. He knows, she whispered. Maybe. Tom helped her up, muscles straining as he lifted her dead weight. She leaned against him, trembling. The cellar had been cold, and fear made it worse. Did you hear what he said about James? I heard. She gripped his arm. They made it look like Apache killed him, but I was there. I saw. Her voice broke. Tom got her to the bed, pulled the blanket around her shoulders. Who killed your husband? Crenshaw's men. 2 of them. James had found evidence about the guns, was going to wire Fort Huachuca. She pulled something from inside her dress, a leather cord with a small key. This opens James's strongbox at Fort Grant. The evidence is there, maps, bills of sale, everything. Tom took the key, warm from her skin. Why didn't you go to the fort yourself? Because Crenshaw has men there too. Sergeants, scouts, even officers. Her eyes met his. I didn't know who to trust, so I ran to the Apache, Thunder Voice's band. His daughter Morning Dove and we were friends. She taught me Apache. I taught her English. And they took you in. For a while, until the war faction found out who I was. She touched her shoulder. They wanted to trade me back to Crenshaw. For rifles. Morning Dove helped me escape. Gave me her dress to blend in. They must think I'm her. Yet Tom walked to the window, watched dust devils spin across his yard. So Crenshaw wants you dead, the Apache want you for trade, and the army might shoot you for being with the Apache. Yes, and you want me to ride into Fort Grant and steal evidence from a dead captain's quarters. Not steal, retrieve. With that evidence, Colonel Brennan can arrest Crenshaw before 200 rifles turn this territory into a bloodbath. Julia struggled to her feet, swayed, caught herself on the bedpost. Mr. Brennan, Tom, I know I have no right to ask, but if those guns reach the war faction, hundreds will die. Settlers, Apache, soldiers. Tom turned from the window. Julia stood there, injured shoulders seeping blood, tangled hair, wearing a dead Apache woman's dress, but her eyes burned fierce as any cavalry officer's. I'll think about it, he said. She started to speak, then stopped. Her hand moved to her belly again, that protective gesture he'd noticed before. This time Tom really looked. The slight swell barely showed under the loose dress. How far along? He asked. Her hand dropped. 4 months. Tom did the math. Captain Morrison died 3 months ago. She was carrying his child, alone, hunted, pregnant. Does Crenshaw know? No. Nobody knows except... She stopped, eyes widening. The riders. Tom. I hear riders. Tom heard them too. Multiple horses, moving fast from the west. He crossed to the window, peered through the shutter crack. Apache warriors. The same ones from yesterday, but more of them now. At least a dozen. And leading them, on a black stallion, rode a man Tom recognized from army sketches. Red Knife, leader of the war faction, the one who wanted Julia Morrison for trade. And he was riding straight for Tom's cabin with murder in his eyes. Red Knife dismounted 20 feet from the door. His warriors spread out in a half circle, rifles across their saddles. The morning sun caught the silver discs on Red Knife's vest. Same kind Thunder Voice wore. Brothers maybe, or rivals now. Tom checked the Winchester's load. 7 rounds. His Colt had 6. 13 shots for 12 men, if it came to that. Stay down, he told Julia. She dropped to the floor beside the bed. Bad shoulder pressed against the wall. Red Knife's voice carried clear through the door. White man, send out the woman. Tom didn't answer. Let them wonder if he was even inside. We know she is there. Red Knife moved closer. Tom could see his shadow through the shutter crack. The blood trail ends at your door. Julia's hand found Tom's boot, squeezed once. He glanced down. She'd pulled the knife from her belt, held it reversed for throwing. 4 months pregnant, shoulder torn up, and ready to fight. You have 1 minute, Red Knife said. Tom counted heartbeats. 20, 30, at 40, he called out, Don't know what woman you mean. The one who murders her own people, who steals from those who shelter her. Nobody here but me. Silence. Then Red Knife spoke in Apache to his men. Tom caught a few words, something about fire. His stovepipe. They meant to smoke them out. Wait. Tom moved to the door, rifle ready. Let's talk this through. Open the door. Tom lifted the bolt, cracked it 2 inches. Red Knife stood close enough Tom could smell the bear grease in his hair. The warrior's face was all sharp angles, eyes black as spent coals. The woman you're tracking, Tom said. What did she steal? That is Apache business. It becomes my business when you threaten to burn my home. Red Knife studied him. You are the one who walks between worlds, who sells to both Apache and white. I sell to anyone who pays fair. Then you understand trade. Red Knife gestured to his men. The woman for your life. Fair trade. Can't trade what I don't have. Red Knife's hand moved to his belt knife. Then we will look ourselves. Like hell you will. Tom opened the door wider, showing the Winchester. This is my land. American land. You got no rights here. Your law stops where our justice begins. Your justice. Tom let anger creep into his voice. Real anger now. Shooting a woman in the back. She is not what she seems. Red Knife's eyes narrowed. She lived among us as sister, learned our ways, then betrayed sacred trust. Tom heard Julia shift behind him. Her breathing had gone quick, shallow. What trust? Tom asked. Red Knife was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried something like pain. Morning Dove trusted her, called her sister. Now Morning Dove is dead. Tom's chest went tight. He glanced back at Julia. Her face had gone white as alkali dust. When? Tom asked. 3 days passed. Killed helping this false one escape. Red Knife's voice hardened. Blood demands blood. Julia made a sound half sob, half gasp. Tom heard her try to stand, fall back. I'm sorry about Morning Dove, Tom said. Meant it too. But killing another woman won't bring her back. You speak of things you do not understand. White man. I understand plenty. I understand you're about to start a war over personal vengeance. Red Knife smiled. No humor in it. War is coming anyway. Your Indian agent sees to that. Tom's pulse jumped. You know about Crenshaw. We know he sends guns to those who will use them. Red Knife's eyes glinted. The war faction grows stronger. Soon Thunder Voice will have to choose fight or be replaced. And your war faction. I am Apache. That is enough. Behind Tom, Julia whispered something. He couldn't make it out, but Red Knife heard. His whole body changed, tightened like a drawn bow. She speaks, he said. Let me hear her voice. No. Red Knife raised his hand. His warriors lifted their rifles. Her voice or your blood. Choose. Tom felt Julia's hand on his back. She pushed herself up, using him for support. her breath hot on his neck as she fought to stay upright. "I'm here," she called out. Her voice cracked but carried clear. "I'm here. Red knife." The Apache leader's face twisted. "You! Not Mourning Dove's dress you wear, but you! The captain's woman. His widow." Julia's fingers dug into Tom's shoulder. "Mourning Dove died saving me. She knew what I carried. Evidence about the guns. She said it was worth—" "Do not speak her name." Red Knife's knife appeared in his hand. "You have no right." Tom shifted, putting himself more squarely between them. "Back off, both of you." Red Knife looked at him. Really looked. Like he was seeing Tom for the first time. "You protect her. Why?" "Because she's hurt. Because she's on my land. Because killing her won't stop those guns from shipping." "The guns?" Red Knife laughed, bitter as wormwood. "Always the guns. Your people make them, sell them, then act surprised when we use them. Not my people doing the selling." "No." "Then whose—" Tom felt Julia lean harder against him. Her fever was coming back. He could feel the heat through his shirt. "Crenshaw," Tom said. "Indian Agent Crenshaw is selling guns to the war faction." Red Knife's expression didn't change. "We know this. Then why?" "Because knowing and proving are different things. White man, your law requires proof, papers, witnesses." He pointed his knife at Julia. "She has these things, hidden somewhere. Mourning Dove died to protect them." "The strong box," Julia whispered. "Fort Grant. I told Mourning Dove where—" She collapsed. Tom caught her as she fell, lowered her to the floor. Her skin burned, shoulder bleeding again. The stress had torn something inside. Red Knife stepped forward. Tom brought the Winchester up one-handed, barrel aimed at the Apache's chest. "Far enough!" They stood frozen. Tom on his knees, holding Julia with one arm, rifle in the other. Red Knife in the doorway, knife ready. The other warriors with rifles trained on the cabin. "She's dying anyway," Red Knife said. "Give her to us. Let us finish it with honor." "Whose honor yours?" Tom felt Julia's pulse under his fingers, rapid and thready. "This is what you call Apache honor killing a pregnant woman." Red Knife went still. His eyes moved to Julia's belly. Saw what Tom had seen, the subtle swell beneath the dress. "She carries a child, 4 months along." The Apache leader looked at his men, then back at Tom. Something shifted in his face, not softness exactly, but consideration. "Apache do not kill women with child, not even enemies." He sheathed his knife. "But when the child comes, when she has healed, then we will return." "Fair enough." Red Knife started to turn, then stopped. "You know they will come for her too. The white men, Crenshaw's dogs." "I know. You cannot protect her from both sides. Watch me." Red Knife smiled then, a real smile. "You are a fool, Tom Brennan." "Probably." The Apache swung onto his horse, said something to his men. They wheeled their mounts, but Red Knife looked back once more. "Thunder Voice returns from the mountains in 2 days. He will want to know of his daughter's death." His eyes found Julia unconscious on the floor. "And who bears responsibility?" They rode off west, dust cloud rising behind them. Tom bolted the door and carried Julia back to the bed. Her fever raged worse than before. He got water, laudanum, clean bandages. His hands worked automatic while his mind raced. 2 days until Thunder Voice returned. 4 days until the guns shipped. Crenshaw's men could show up any time. And Julia Morrison was getting worse, not better. He checked her shoulder. The stitches had held, but infection was setting in. Red streaks spreading from the wound. Without proper medicine, she'd be dead in days. The child, too. Tom sat on the bed edge, watching her breathe. The empty chair across from him caught his eye, the one he'd been setting for 5 years, waiting for something. Someone. Julia's eyes opened, focused on his face. Morning dove, she whispered. Dead. Red Knife said 3 days ago. Tears ran down her cheeks. She was bringing me to her father. Said Thunder Voice would give me sanctuary, get the evidence to the army. But the war faction found us first. So you took her dress. She made me take it. Said they'd think twice about shooting Thunder Voice's daughter. Julia's hand moved to her belly. She died for this baby. For a child she'd never meet. Tom wiped her tears with his sleeve. We need to get you medicine. Real medicine, not frontier remedies. Town. Doc Pritchard might come if I paid enough, but he'd talk. Whole town would know within hours. Julia gripped his hand. The fort. There's a doctor there who knew James. Dr. Marcus. He'd help. Fort Grant is 20 miles through Apache territory. I can ride. Tom looked at her fever-bright eyes. Blood on bandages. Barely able to sit up. You can't even stand. Then what? Before Tom could answer, he heard it. Horses again. From the east this time. He went to the window, peered out. 6 riders coming hard. White men, and leading them, wearing his black suit and string tie like always, rode Samuel Crenshaw. The Indian agent had come calling. Crenshaw stayed mounted, black suit dusty from hard riding. His men spread out. Tom recognized 2 as fort scouts, half-breeds who worked both sides. The others wore no uniforms but had that ex-military bearing. Hired guns. Tom stood in his doorway, Winchester leaning against the inside wall, visible but not in hand. Mr. Brennan. Crenshaw touched his hat brim. His voice carried that educated Eastern accent he'd never quite lost. Fine morning. Getting hotter by the minute. Crenshaw smiled, gold tooth catching sun. Indeed. Mind if my men water their horses. Trough is there. Help yourselves. 2 riders dismounted, led horses to the trough. The others stayed mounted, hands casual near their guns. Crenshaw pulled out a handkerchief, dabbed his forehead. Terrible news about the Morrison woman. Tom kept his face neutral. What news is that? Captured by hostiles 3 months past. Poor thing. The cavalry's been searching, but... He shrugged. These Apache, they don't leave much to find. Tragic. Yes. Crenshaw's pale eyes studied Tom's face. Of course. Rumors persist. Some say she was seen recently. Alive. Rumors are like dust devils. Lots of motion, no substance. The Indian agent chuckled. Colorful. But sometimes rumors have roots in truth. He shifted in his saddle, leather creaking. For instance, I heard Apache were here earlier. Red Knife's bunch. Tom said nothing. Unusual for them to come this far east. Unless they were tracking something. Or someone. Behind Tom, a floorboard creaked. Julia trying to move. Tom coughed to cover the sound. You feeling well, Mr. Brennan? You look peaked. Summer cold. Ah, those can be nasty. Perhaps you should rest. Crenshaw's voice hardened slightly. After we conclude our business. What business is that? Crenshaw dismounted, handed his reins to one of his men. He walked closer, stopped 10 feet from the door. This close. Tom could see the sweat beading under his pomade, the nervous tick in his left eye. I'm looking for stolen property. Government property. Don't have any. Perhaps you don't know you have it. Crenshaw pulled out a silver case, extracted a thin cigar. Mrs. Morrison took certain documents when she left. Official papers that could be misunderstood if they fell into the wrong hands. Misunderstood how? The Indian agent lit his cigar. Blue smoke drifting. Supply manifests, shipping schedules, boring bureaucratic necessities that might seem suspicious to those who don't understand government operations. Like rifles going missing. Crenshaw's eye ticked faster. Rifles? Who said anything about rifles? You did, just now. I said supplies. Same thing on the frontier. One of Crenshaw's men, the bigger half-breed scout, moved his horse closer. His hand rested on his pistol grip. Tom noted the position, calculated angles. Mr. Brennan, Crenshaw said, you've always been a reasonable man, neutral. It's kept you alive when others have fallen. That a threat, an observation. The territory is changing. The Apache grow bolder. The army more aggressive. Soon everyone will have to choose sides. I choose my own side. Admirable, but impractical. Crenshaw stepped closer. I'm prepared to make you an offer. A generous one. Tom waited. $500, gold, not paper. For any information about the Morrison woman or the documents she stole, that's a lot of money. It's nothing compared to what's at stake. Crenshaw's voice dropped. This territory is about to explode. Mr. Brennan, when it does, those on the winning side will prosper. Those opposed, he shrugged. And you're the winning side. I represent order, progress, the future. Behind Tom, another creak. Then a soft thud. Julia had fallen. Tom didn't turn, didn't react. But Crenshaw heard it. His eyes sharpened. Perhaps I could come in, get out of this, son. No. The word came out flat, final. Crenshaw's face flushed. No. My house, my rules. The Indian agent looked at his men. The big scout had drawn his pistol, held it across his saddle. The others shifted, ready. Mr. Brennan, I'm trying to be civilized about this. Then stay civilized and get off my land. Crenshaw dropped his cigar, ground it under his boot heel. Very well, but consider this. I know she's here. Red Knife knows she's here. Sheriff Whelan suspects she's here. How long before someone less civilized than me comes calling? I'll take my chances. Will you? Crenshaw walked back to his horse, mounted smooth despite his bulk. A word of advice, Mr. Brennan. Heroes die young out here. The smart money is on survival. He wheeled his horse, his men following. But at the property line, Crenshaw turned back. Oh, one more thing. That Apache girl who died helping Mrs. Morrison escape Mourning Dove, turns out she was Thunder Voice's daughter. Tom kept his expression blank. Imagine his reaction when he learns who got her killed. Crenshaw smiled. 2 days, they say. 2 days until he returns. If I were harboring his daughter's killer, I'd be worried. They rode off, dust cloud fading east. Tom waited until they were gone, then bolted the door and rushed to Julia. She'd made it halfway across the room before collapsing. Blood seeped through the bandage, and her skin burned hotter than before. Tom lifted her, carried her back to bed. How much? Did he know? She gasped. Everything. He's just playing it careful. Julia gripped his shirt. The documents. They're not just supply manifests. I figured. They're correspondence between Crenshaw and someone in Washington. Someone high up. She coughed, specks of blood on her lips. They're planning more than gun running. Tom. They want to provoke a full Apache uprising. Why? To justify clearing the territory. Every Apache dead or on reservations. Every ranch and mine claimed for Eastern investors. Her eyes burned fever-bright but focused. Crenshaw gets rich. His partner gets political credit for solving the Apache problem. Tom fetched water, helped her drink. Who's the partner? Senator Malcolm Rourke, chairman of Indian Affairs. Tom knew the name. Everyone did. Rourke was being groomed for bigger things, maybe even the White House. James found out. Julia nodded. He was going to expose it. Had copies of everything in his strongbox, plus originals he'd stolen from Crenshaw's office. She pulled out the key again. It's all there. Enough to destroy them both. If we can get it, we have to. In 4 days, those guns... Her words cut off in a coughing fit. More blood this time. Tom held her until it passed, feeling her body shake against him. You need a doctor. Can't. Trust anyone. Dr. Marcus at the fort. You said he'd help. Yes. But getting there. Tom made the calculation. 20 miles through hostile territory with a dying woman. But staying here meant watching her die for certain. I know a way. Back trails. Avoid the main roads. Julia's hand found his. Why are you doing this? Tom looked at the empty chair, the one he'd been setting for 5 years. Because I've sat on the fence long enough. Because your husband died trying to do right. Because Morning Dove died protecting you. He squeezed her fingers. Because if that baby has any chance, it needs its mother alive. She started crying, silent tears running down her face. I don't even know if I can save the evidence. The strongbox might be gone, moved, destroyed. One problem at a time. Tom stood, started gathering supplies. First, we get you to Dr. Marcus. Rest is tomorrow's worry. He packed quick ammunition, water, medical supplies. Julia watched from the bed, fighting to stay conscious. When he finished, Tom knelt beside her. We leave at dark, 6 hours. Can you hold on? She nodded, though Tom saw the doubt in her eyes. The fever was winning, the infection spreading. Tom, her voice came out whispered. What Crenshaw said about Thunder Voice. Don't worry about that now. He'll blame me for Morning Dove. Maybe. He'll want blood for blood. Apache way. Tom thought about Red Knife's parting words. Thunder Voice returning in 2 days, the chief who'd lost his daughter protecting a white woman. We'll be gone before he gets here. And if we're not... Tom didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was too hard if Thunder Voice found them. If Julia couldn't travel, if the infection got worse... A sound cut through his thoughts. Horses. Again. But different this time, unshod ponies moving slow. Careful. Tom went to the window. The sun had moved past noon, throwing shadows from the barn. In those shadows, something moved, then stepped into light. An Apache woman, young, maybe 20, wearing a dress exactly like Julia's blood-stained one. She walked toward the cabin, hands empty and visible. Behind her, staying in the shadows, Tom counted at least 6 warriors, watching, waiting. The woman stopped 20 feet from the door. When she spoke, her voice carried clear and strong. I am Desert Flower, sister to Morning Dove. Her English was perfect, barely accented. I have come for the woman who killed her. Tom's hand found the Winchester. Desert Flower stood motionless in the yard, wind pulling at her dress. Same beadwork as Julia's borrowed one. Same pattern Morning Dove had worn. Your sister died 3 days ago, Tom called through the door. The woman here didn't kill her. She lives because of my sister's death. That is the same. Behind Tom, Julia tried to sit up. He heard the bed frame creak, her sharp intake of breath at the pain. Let me talk to her, Julia whispered. No. She deserves... You can barely breathe, much less stand. Desert Flower took a step forward. The warriors in the shadows shifted, rifles catching sunlight. I will speak to her, woman to woman. Tom opened the door 2 feet, body blocking the gap. She's dying. Infection from the arrow wound. The arrow meant for my sister. Your sister chose to help her. Nobody forced that choice. Desert Flower's eyes, same black depths as Morning Dove's, must have been studied his face. You are Tom Brennan, the man who trades with both sides. I am. My sister spoke of you, said you were different from the others, said you see Apache as people, not animals. Your sister was right. Then you understand why I must have justice. Tom heard Julia moving behind him, dragging herself across the floor. He stepped back. caught her as she reached the doorway, her weight nothing in his arms, bird bones and fever. "Desert flower," Julia gasped. I'm sorry." The Apache woman's face shifted, seeing Julia clear for the first time. The borrowed dress soaked with blood and sweat, the gray skin, hollow eyes, the way she held her belly, protective even while dying. "You carry a child." "Yes." "My sister knew this," Julia nodded. Couldn't speak through the coughing that followed. Tom held her upright, felt her chest rattle with each breath. Desert Flower was quiet for a long moment. Then, she would protect an unborn child, even an enemy's child. It was her way. "She was my friend," Julia managed. "Taught me. Your language, your songs. Sing one!" The demand came sharp. Julia looked up at Tom, then back at Desert Flower. She drew a breath, started humming. Weak at first, then stronger. Tom didn't understand the words when she began singing, but he recognized the rhythm. A lullaby, maybe, or a morning song. Desert Flower's hand went to her chest. Her eyes filled but didn't spill over. "My sister taught you that when our mother died. She sang it for weeks after. Every night, in your father's camp," she said. It brought peace. The Apache woman turned to the shadows, spoke rapid Apache. The warriors emerged, 6 of them, all young, all painted for war. They formed a loose line behind Desert Flower. "My father returns tomorrow night," she said. "Not 2 days." The runners were wrong. Tom's chest tightened. "Tomorrow night. No time to reach the fort and back. He will demand justice for Morning Dove." Desert Flower continued. "The war faction pushes him to attack all whites. My sister's death gives them reason. But if he knew the truth..." Julia started. "Truth." Desert Flower's voice turned bitter. "The truth is my sister is dead. The truth is whites kill Apache every day. The truth is your people sell us rifles to kill each other faster." "Not her people," Tom said. "She's trying to stop the gun sales." "How?" Julia pulled the key from around her neck, held it out with shaking fingers. "Evidence. At Fort Grant, proof that Crenshaw is selling weapons illegally." Desert Flower looked at the key but didn't take it. "And this helps Apache how? Without guns, the war faction has no power. Thunder Voice can keep peace." "Peace!" The word came out like spoiled meat. "Peace while we starve on reservations. Peace while your soldiers..." She stopped, looked at Julia's belly again. The father. He was a soldier. Captain James Morrison. Recognition flashed across Desert Flower's face. "Morrison. He came to our camp. Spoke with my father about the treaties. He was trying to help. That's why Crenshaw had him killed." Desert Flower turned to her warriors again. Longer discussion this time. Tom caught fragments arguments about honor, justice, practical matters. When she turned back, her face had hardened to stone. "I will give you 1 night. When my father arrives, I will tell him you are gone. But if he finds you here..." "We'll be gone," Tom said. "No." Desert Flower pointed at Julia. "She is too sick to travel. She will die on the trail." Tom felt Julia sag against him. The talking had drained her last reserves. "There is another way," Desert Flower said. "Our healer, Joseph Crow Feather. He knows white medicine and Apache both. He could help her." "Why would you..." "Because my sister would want the child to live. Because killing a pregnant woman brings curse on our people." She paused. "Because maybe you speak truth about the guns." Tom looked at the young warriors behind her. "They agree to this. They follow me until my father returns. And after..." Desert Flower's eyes went cold. "After depends on whether the white woman lives and whether her evidence is real." The sun had dropped lower, maybe 3 hours until dark. Tom made the calculation. Trust Desert Flower or try running with Julia dying. Where is this healer? Our camp. 5 miles northwest. Into Apache territory. Into Thunder Voice's own camp. That's suicide. No, it is trust. Desert Flower stepped back. Decide now. We leave or she dies here. Julia's hand tightened on Tom's arm. Tom, I can't ride 5 miles. He looked down at her. Fever eating her alive. Infection spreading. Baby depending on her survival. Then at Desert Flower, Morning Dove's sister, offering help that might be trap. We'll need a travois, he said. Desert Flower almost smiled. Already made. We knew she couldn't ride. She whistled sharp. 2 warriors brought forward a travois buffalo hide stretched between lodge poles, meant to be dragged behind a horse. Tom carried Julia out, laid her on the hide. She cried out when her shoulder touched down, then bit her lip, silent. Desert Flower knelt beside her, pulled something from her bag, a leather pouch, beaded like the one Julia had carried. Willow bark and something else, for pain. Julia took it, swallowed dry. Within seconds, her eyes started closing. What else was in that? Peyote. Small amount. She will sleep. Tom saddled Belle quick, tied the travois poles to the saddle. The warriors mounted their ponies, formed escort around them. Desert Flower walked beside Julia, one hand on the travois frame. They moved out as shadows grew long. 5 miles to the Apache camp, to healers or executioners. Tom didn't know which. Behind them, his cabin stood empty. That second chair still at the table, still waiting. But for what now? The travois bumped over rocks. Julia moaned but didn't wake. Desert Flower began singing same song Julia had sung. Morning song for certain now. 2 miles out, one of the warriors rode back from scouting ahead. Spoke quick Apache to Desert Flower. Her face changed. What? Tom asked. Tracks. Many horses from the fort, heading to your cabin. Crenshaw's men. No, soldiers. Full patrol. Tom thought fast. The army coming to his place meant someone had talked. Whelan maybe, or Crenshaw covering his bets. They'll track us, he said. Yes. To your camp. Desert Flower looked at him steady. Then we best reach it first. They picked up pace. Travois bouncing harder. Julia cried out in her sleep. Blood started seeping through the bandages again. 3 miles. 4. The sun touched the horizon, painting everything red. Tom's back screamed from riding twisted, watching Julia and their back trail both. Finally, the camp appeared. Maybe 30 lodges along a creek bottom, cook fires smoking, women and children stopping to stare as they passed. Desert Flower led them to a lodge set apart from the others, painted symbols on the hide that Tom recognized healers' marks. Joseph Crow Feather emerged. Old, older than Tom expected. White hair in braids, but his eyes sharp as broken glass. He looked at Julia on the travois, spoke Apache to Desert Flower. He says bring her inside. Quick. Tom carried Julia into the lodge. Smelled herbs, smoke, something chemical like carbolic. The old man had Tom lay her on a buffalo robe, then started examining her wound. His fingers gentle but sure. He spoke again. Desert Flower translated. The infection is bad, gone into her blood. He needs to cut out the poisoned flesh, drain it. Will she survive? The old man understood that without translation. He held up his hand, waggled it. Maybe yes, maybe no. Do it, Tom said. Joseph Crowfeather started preparing. Knives heating in the fire, herbs grinding in a stone bowl. Desert Flower helped, knowing exactly what he needed before he asked. You should wait outside, she told Tom. I'm staying. She looked at him, something shifting in her expression. You care for her. She's under my protection. It is more than that. Tom didn't answer. Couldn't explain what he barely understood himself. The empty chair, the loneliness, the choice to stand for something finally. Joseph Crow. Feather began cutting. Julia screamed even through the peyote sleep. Tom held her shoulders while Desert Flower held her legs. Blood flowed, then yellow pus that stank like death. Outside, commotion. Horses arriving fast. Voices raised in challenge and response. Desert Flower went to the lodge entrance, looked out. When she turned back, her face had gone pale. "My father. He's here. You said tomorrow night. The runners were wrong about many things." She listened to the voices outside. "He's asking about the white woman. About you." Tom looked at Julia, unconscious on the bloody buffalo robe. Joseph Crow Feather still working, cutting away dead flesh with terrible patience. "Can we move her? She'll die." Outside, Thunder Voice's voice rose clear. Tom didn't need Apache to understand the tone. Rage. Demand for justice. His daughter was dead and someone would answer for it. Footsteps approached the lodge. Heavy. Purposeful. Desert Flower grabbed Tom's arm. "Whatever happens, do not reach for your gun. He will take it as challenge." The lodge flap pushed open. Thunder Voice entered. Tall, broad, wearing a cavalry jacket over traditional dress trophies from some old battle. His face looked carved from dark wood, deep lines of grief fresh around his eyes. He looked at his daughter, at Tom, at Julia bleeding on his healer's floor. When he spoke, it was in perfect English. "So, you are the man who harbors my daughter's killer." Thunder Voice stood massive in the lodge entrance, blocking the firelight from outside. The cavalry jacket stretched across his chest, captain's insignia, bullet hole through the left shoulder, bloodstains turned brown with age. His eyes never left Tom's face. "My daughter is dead." Each word dropped like a stone into water. "This woman lives. Explain." Tom stayed kneeling beside Julia. Joseph Crow Feather kept working, cutting infected flesh, not looking up. The old healer's hand stayed steady, but Tom saw the tremor in his jaw. Morning Dove chose to help her escape. The war faction shot them both. Red Knife says different. Red Knife wasn't there. Thunder Voice stepped into the lodge. The space seemed to shrink. Desert Flower pressed against the hide wall, hand at her throat. "Father." Silence. He didn't look at her. "You brought them here, to our sacred camp. The woman who caused Morning Dove's death. She carries a child." Thunder Voice's hand cut the air. Desert Flower went quiet. The chief circled the buffalo robe where Julia lay, her breathing shallow, skin gray except where blood seeped fresh. Joseph Crow Feather had cut deep, infected tissue piled on a wooden plate like spoiled meat. "She wears my daughter's dress. Morning Dove gave it to her," Tom said. "To protect her." "From whom?" "From everyone. Apache and White both want her dead." Thunder Voice knelt opposite Tom, Julia between them. This close, Tom could see the grief carved into every line of the chief's face. His daughter, 3 days dead. And here was the cause breathing on his healer's floor. Why did Morning Dove help her? Tom reached into his pocket, pulled out the cavalry button and auburn hair, set them on the robe beside Julia. Captain Morrison, her husband. He was gathering evidence about illegal gun sales to the war faction. Thunder Voice picked up the button, turned it in the firelight. Morrison. He came to my camp, spoke of peace. Crenshaw had him killed for it. And his wife fled to us. Thunder Voice set down the button. Morning Dove befriended her. More than that. Sisters. Desert Flower said. The chief looked at his living daughter. She nodded, eyes wet. They sang together, taught each other languages. When the soldiers killed our cousin, The Morrison woman mourned with us. When her husband died, Mourning Dove mourned with her. Thunder Voice was quiet. Outside, Tom heard warriors gathering, voices low but tense. The whole camp waiting to see what their chief would do. Joseph Crowfeather spoke for the first time. Quiet Apache words. Thunder Voice listened, then translated. He says the infection is deep. Without his medicine, she dies tonight. With it, maybe tomorrow. She'll live, Tom said. Why do you care? White man. Tom looked at Julia's face, thought about the empty chair, the 5 years of nothing, the choice to finally stand for something. Because she's trying to stop a war. Because your daughter died believing that mattered. Many die believing things that don't matter. Not Mourning Dove. Thunder Voice's face darkened. Do not speak her name. You haven't earned that right. Then earn it for me. Let me finish what she started. How? Tom picked up the key from where it had fallen beside Julia. Fort Grant, her husband's strongbox. Evidence that proves Crenshaw is selling rifles to start a war. Enough to destroy him. Evidence. Thunder Voice almost smiled. Papers. White man's magic. You think papers stop bullets? They stop the man selling bullets. The chief stood, walked to the lodge entrance, looked out at his people gathered in the growing dark. When he turned back, something had shifted in his face. Show me your weapons. Tom unbuckled his gun belt, set the Colt on the ground, drew the knife from his boot, laid it beside the pistol. Thunder Voice picked up the Colt, checked the cylinder. Full load. He checked the knife sharp. Oiled. Ready. You came into my camp armed. Desert Flower didn't ask for them. Because she knew I would. Thunder Voice set the weapons down. Yet you gave them freely. I'm not here to fight. The chief walked back to Julia, studied her face. She spoke words before the cutting, called out names. Fever dreams. No. She called for Mourning Dove. Apologized to her. His voice cracked slightly. My daughter would forgive. It was her way. Tom said nothing. Let the man work through his grief. Thunder Voice pulled something from his jacket, a beaded pouch, twin to the one Julia had carried. He opened it, poured the contents into his palm. Tom expected Apache medicine tokens. Instead, photographs. Small tintypes. My daughters, Thunder Voice said. 3 young women in the pictures. Desert Flower on the left. Another girl Tom didn't recognize on the right. Mourning Dove in the center, smiling, wearing the same dress Julia wore now. This one taken last month, a traveling photographer at the agency. Mourning Dove insisted. He touched his daughter's image with one finger. She believed in peace, believed whites and Apache could live as neighbors. She was right. Was she? Thunder Voice put away the photographs. Tomorrow, 200 rifles arrive for the war faction. Red Knife will distribute them. Attack settlements. The army will respond. My people will die. Unless we stop the rifles. Tom met his eyes. I can't get to Fort Grant alone. Not with the army patrols, but with Apache guides. Thunder Voice laughed. Short, bitter. You ask me to help save the woman who caused my daughter's death. I ask you to finish what Mourning Dove started. Silence. Joseph Crow. Feather kept working, packing herbs into Julia's wound. Desert Flower stood frozen against the lodge wall. Thunder Voice walked back to the entrance, pushed aside the flap. Red Knife. Come. The war leader entered, paint still on his face from earlier. He looked at Tom, at Julia, at Thunder Voice. His hand rested on his knife. Uncle. The word formal, distant. You shot at my daughter 3 days ago. I shot at the white woman. Morning Dove chose to shield her. The same. Red Knife's jaw tightened. The council agreed. The woman had to die. Which council, yours or mine? The war faction grows. Uncle, soon there will be only one council. Thunder Voice moved faster than Tom expected. His hand caught Red Knife's throat, lifted him off the ground. The younger man clawed at the grip, but Thunder Voice held him like a child holds a doll. I am still chief. Thunder Voice's voice stayed level, which made it worse. My daughter is dead. You fired the arrow. Give me one reason not to snap your neck. Red Knife's face went purple. His legs kicked air. Father, Desert Flower said. Please. Thunder Voice held him another heartbeat, then dropped him. Red Knife collapsed, gasping. You want war, Thunder Voice said. I understand. They killed your brother, your father, but war means all our children die. Better death than slavery, Red Knife rasped. Easy words for a man with no children. Red Knife stood slowly, hand at his bruised throat. The rifles arrive tomorrow night, with or without your blessing. We take them. And then we drive every white from our lands, including those who help us. Thunder Voice pointed at Tom. This man risks everything to stop the rifles. One white man changes nothing. One changed everything for Morning Dove. Red Knife spat. Morning Dove was weak, like her father grows weak. The lodge went silent. Outside, warriors pressed closer, listening. Tom's hand inched toward where his colt lay. Thunder Voice smiled. Actually smiled. Perhaps you're right, nephew. Perhaps I am weak. He turned to Tom. Stand up. Tom stood. Thunder Voice moved close. Close enough Tom could smell the bear grease, tobacco, old leather. You would die for this woman, if necessary. Why? Tom thought of the empty chair, the 5 years, the choice. Because it's right. Thunder Voice studied his face. Then, loud enough for everyone outside to hear, Tom Brennan, you brought my daughter's killer to our camp. Tom's throat went dry. Chief. Thunder Voice's hand rose. By Apache law, blood demands blood. A life for a life. Red Knife smiled. Desert Flower covered her mouth. But, Thunder Voice continued, Apache law also says a life saved makes family. You chose to save this woman and her child. That choice carries weight. The chief walked to Joseph Crowfeather, spoke rapid Apache. The old healer nodded, answered. Thunder Voice turned back. Joseph says she will live, the child too, if the spirits will it. He picked up Tom's colt, handed it to him grip first. You are under my protection until the child is born. Uncle, Red Knife started. Challenge me if you wish. Thunder Voice faced him. Call for combat. Take leadership. But know this, I'll kill you, and your war will die with you. Red Knife's hand moved to his knife, stopped. Around them, warriors shifted, some moving closer to Red Knife, others to Thunder Voice, the camp dividing. This isn't over, Red Knife said. No, but tonight it is. Thunder Voice turned to Desert Flower. Take them to the women's lodge. Guard them. Father, the army patrol is here. Tom heard it then. Horses, many horses, surrounding the camp. Thunder Voice looked at Tom. 20 soldiers. They tracked you. Now we are all trapped together. Outside, a voice carried clear on the night air. Tom recognized it Lieutenant Patterson from Fort Grant. Young, ambitious, trigger-happy. Thunder Voice. We know you have the white woman. Send her out or we open fire. The chief almost laughed. They think we took her. He looked at Julia unconscious on the robe. Perhaps we did. Chief, Tom said, if they attack, then many die, Apache and white. Thunder Voice pulled on his cavalry jacket, adjusted it like a man preparing for ceremony. Unless someone stops it. He started for the entrance. Tom caught his arm. Where are you going? Thunder Voice smiled. That same bitter smile. To make a choice my daughter would approve. He looked at Red Knife. Coming, nephew, or do you only fight when winning is certain? Red Knife followed him out. Tom started after, but Desert Flower stopped him. No, stay with her. This is Apache business now. Through the lodge entrance, Tom saw Thunder Voice walk into the open. 20 rifles swung toward him. The chief spread his arms wide, that bullet-holed cavalry jacket catching moonlight. Lieutenant Patterson, Thunder Voice called. Let us talk. Patterson's voice came back nervous. Send out Mrs. Morrison first. She is dying. Come see for yourself. Alone. Could be a trap. Thunder Voice laughed. Loud. Genuine. Lieutenant, if I wanted you dead, you would be. Come. Bring your doctor. Save her life if you can. Long silence. Tom counted heartbeats. Julia's breath rattled beside him. Then Patterson's voice. If anything happens to me, your men will fire. Mine will fire. Everyone dies. Yes, Lieutenant. I know this dance. Thunder Voice's voice hardened. But tonight, we try something else. Tom heard a horse approaching. Single rider, Patterson dismounting, boots on ground. The lieutenant entered the lodge, pistol drawn, saw Tom, Julia, the healer. His pistol swung between targets. Mr. Brennan, what the hell? Long story, Lieutenant. Right now she needs help. Patterson looked at Julia, at the infected wound, at Joseph Crowfeather's blood-covered hands. Jesus Christ. Your doctor, Thunder Voice said from the entrance. Bring him. Patterson looked at the chief, at Tom, at the dying woman between them. This some kind of trick. No trick. Tom showed empty hands. She has information about Captain Morrison's death, about the gun running. She needs to live to testify. The lieutenant's young face twisted with confusion. But the Apache took her. Nobody took her. She ran. Now she's dying. Tom pointed at Julia's belly. Her and Morrison's child, both. You want to explain to Colonel Brennan how you let them die? Patterson holstered his pistol, went to the entrance, called out Dr. Marcus. Need you here. Bring your bag. A minute later, the fort doctor entered. Older man, steady hands. Took in the scene without flinching. Knelt beside Julia. Began examining. Infection's bad. Blood poisoning setting in. He looked at Joseph Crowfeather. But this work, you cleaned it well. Probably saved her life. The Apache healer understood enough English. Nodded once. Dr. Marcus started pulling supplies from his bag. I need light, water, clean cloth. You have it. Thunder Voice said. He spoke Apache. Desert Flower and others began bringing what the doctor needed. Tom watched Apache and White Doctor working together over Julia. Outside, soldiers and warriors faced each other, weapons ready. One wrong move would start a massacre. Thunder Voice stood between the two forces, spoke loud in English. This woman carries Captain Morrison's child. She has proof about who killed him. Both Apache and Army want her alive. Then release her to us, Patterson called. When she can travel, not before. That's not acceptable. Thunder Voice cut him off. Then attack. Kill her yourself with your bullets. Silence. Tom heard the soldiers shifting, nervous. The warriors ready. Then another voice, older, commanding. Stand down, Lieutenant. Colonel Brennan rode into the firelight. Full uniform, steel gray beard, eyes that had seen too much war. He dismounted, walked straight to Thunder Voice. "Chief, Colonel, seems we have a situation. We have a choice." Thunder Voice gestured to the lodge. "Save her together or kill each other separately." The colonel looked through the entrance, saw his doctor working alongside the Apache healer, saw Tom holding Julia's hand, saw the infected wound, the fever, the pregnancy. Morrison's wife, widow. Thunder Voice corrected. "And the evidence about his death. She has it, if she lives." Colonel Brennan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Lieutenant, pull the men back. Make camp at the creek. No one fires without my direct order." "Sir." "That's an order." Patterson saluted, called the withdrawal. The soldiers pulled back, reluctant. Thunder Voice spoke Apache. The warriors lowered weapons, but didn't leave. "Now what?" the colonel asked. "Now we wait," Thunder Voice said, "and see if Morning Dove's sacrifice meant something." Inside the lodge, Julia's breathing changed, deeper, steadier. Dr. Marcus looked up. "Fever's breaking." Tom squeezed Julia's fingers. Her eyes fluttered open, focused on his face. "Tom, I'm here." She looked around, saw Apache faces, soldiers' uniforms, 2 healers working on her wound. "Am I dead?" "No," Thunder Voice said from the entrance. "But the night is young." Outside, a commotion. Horses arriving fast. Many horses. Red Knife appeared at the entrance, face tight with anger. "Uncle, Crenshaw comes, with 20 hired guns." Thunder Voice smiled that bitter smile again. "Of course he does." The colonel's hand went to his sidearm. "Crenshaw, what's he want?" "Same as everyone," Thunder Voice said. "The woman dead. The truth buried." Tom stood, checked his Colt. "Then he'll have to go through all of us. All of us." The colonel looked between Tom and Thunder Voice. Apache and Army together. Thunder Voice and Colonel Brennan exchanged a long look. Decades of warfare between them, dozens of dead on both sides. "Your choice, Colonel," Thunder Voice said. "Stand with truth or let Crenshaw win." Through the lodge entrance, Tom could see torches approaching. Crenshaw's men, coming to finish what they started. The colonel drew his pistol, checked the load. "Lieutenant Patterson." "Sir." "Form a line. Nobody gets through to this lodge." Thunder Voice spoke in Apache. Warriors moved to flanking positions. Tom looked down at Julia, barely conscious but alive. At the 2 healers working to save her. At Apache and soldiers preparing to fight on the same side. Morning Dove's sacrifice, a choice that changed everything. Crenshaw's voice carried across the camp. "Colonel Brennan, I demand you release the fugitive Julia Morrison to federal custody." "What federal authority?" the colonel called back. "The Indian agency has jurisdiction over Indians, not Army widows." Tom saw Crenshaw riding closer, his hired guns spreading out. The Indian agent's face twisted with rage in the torchlight. "That woman stole government documents. She's a threat to territorial security." "She's evidence of your treason," Tom called out. Crenshaw's eyes found him. "Brennan, should have known you'd be in the middle of this." "Just choosing a side, finally." "The wrong side." Crenshaw raised his hand. His men raised rifles. "Colonel, order your men to stand down or—" Thunder Voice's arrow took Crenshaw's hat off. The Indian agent froze, hand still raised. "The next one goes through your throat," Thunder Voice said. Another arrow already knocked. Everyone went still. Soldiers, warriors, hired guns, all waiting for someone to fire first. Then Julia's voice, weak but clear. "Mr. Crenshaw." The Indian agent looked toward the lodge. Julia had dragged herself to the entrance, Dr. Marcus trying to hold her back. She held up a piece of paper, water-stained, blood-spotted, but readable. "Senate letterhead," she gasped. "Senator Rourke's signature, ordering you to—" To provoke an Apache uprising. She coughed. Specks of blood. I have 12 more. All copied. All hidden. Crenshaw's face went white. You're lying. Fort Grant, Prescott, Tucson. She listed cities. Lawyers, newspapermen. If I die, they open the letters. Tom realized what she'd done. While with the Apache, she'd prepared, made copies, set a trap. Crenshaw's men looked at each other. Hired guns were one thing, treason was another. She's bluffing, Crenshaw said, but his voice cracked. Test me, Julia whispered, then collapsed. Dr. Marcus caught her, pulled her back inside. She's hemorrhaging. I need to operate now. Thunder Voice looked at Crenshaw. Leave, now, or stay forever. The threat clear in his voice. Crenshaw's men were already backing away. Nobody wanted to die for a lost cause. This isn't over, Crenshaw said. Yes, Colonel Brennan said. It is. Mr. Crenshaw, you're under arrest for conspiracy, murder, and treason. You have no authority. The colonel smiled. I have 20 soldiers and 30 Apache warriors who say different. Crenshaw looked around. Surrounded. Abandoned by his men. He dropped his gun. Take him, Lieutenant. Patterson and 2 soldiers moved forward, bound Crenshaw's hands. The Indian agent stared at Tom with pure hatred. You've killed us all. Brennan, without me controlling the sales, the war faction gets their guns anyway. The territory will burn. Tom looked at Thunder Voice. The chief nodded. Not if we stop the delivery, Tom said. Impossible. You don't even know where Skeleton Canyon? Red Knife said, stepping from the shadows. Tomorrow night, new moon, everyone turned to stare at the war leader. Nephew, Thunder Voice said. Red Knife looked at Julia dying in the lodge, at Mourning Dove's dress soaked with blood, at his uncle's face. My cousin died for peace. Perhaps I should honor that. Thunder Voice walked to him, placed a hand on his shoulder. Mourning Dove would be proud. Don't! Red Knife's voice broke. Just, let's stop those guns. Colonel Brennan looked between them. Apache and Army together. For tonight, Thunder Voice said. Tomorrow, who knows? Inside the lodge, Dr. Marcus called out, I need more hands. She's going fast. Tom rushed inside. Julia lay still. Too still. The doctor had her wound open, working desperate. Hold her shoulders, Marcus ordered. Tom held her, felt how cold she'd gone, saw how much blood pooled beneath her. Don't die, he whispered. Not now. Not after everything. Her eyes opened. Found his. The baby. Still fighting. Dr. Marcus said, just like its mother. She smiled weakly, reached up, touched Tom's face. The empty chair, she whispered. At your table. Who was it for? Tom didn't understand how she knew about it. Then remembered fever dreams. Him talking to fill silence. I don't know. Someone. Anyone. Me, she said. It was waiting for me. Then her eyes rolled back. Her hand fell. No pulse, Dr. Marcus said. Damn it, no pulse. Dr. Marcus pressed both hands against Julia's chest, pumping hard. Once, twice, the sound like wet leather slapping. Joseph Crow. Feather grabbed herbs from his pouch, crushed them under Julia's nose. Sharp ammonia smell that made Tom's eyes water. Come on, Marcus grunted between compressions. Come on. Thunder Voice entered the lodge, filled the entrance. The child, still moving, Marcus said. Pump, pump. But not for long, without... Julia's body arched. A gasp, like drowning in reverse. Marcus felt her neck. Pulse. Weak but there. Tom's lungs remembered how to work. Julia's eyes stayed closed, but her chest rose. Fell. Rose again. She needs blood, Marcus said. Lost too much. How? Tom asked. Transfusion. But I need a match. Same type. Use mine. Marcus looked at him. Could kill you both if it's wrong. Then we die. And the doctor started pulling equipment from his bag, glass tubes, needles, rubber tubing. Roll up your sleeve, Thunder Voice spoke to Joseph Crow Feather in Apache. The old healer began mixing something in a wooden bowl, poured it down Julia's throat while Marcus connected Tom's arm to hers with the tube. Tom watched his blood flow into her, dark red through clear tube, his life entering hers, keeping the child alive. Skeleton Canyon, Colonel Brennan said from the entrance. We need to move at dawn. The woman cannot travel, Thunder Voice said. Then, some stay, some go. The colonel looked at Red Knife. You know the exact location? Where the old Spanish trail crosses the wash. They'll have 20 men, Mexican smugglers. We have 20 soldiers, 30 warriors. No, Red Knife shook his head. 10 warriors. The rest won't follow me. Not for this. Then we're outnumbered. Tom felt lightheaded as his blood drained. Element of surprise. What? The colonel turned to him. They're expecting customers, not a raid. Come in looking to buy. Red Knife nodded slowly. Could work. But someone they trust needs to make contact. Crenshaw, Tom said. Everyone looked at the Indian agent, hands bound, sitting under guard. Never. Crenshaw spat. Thunder Voice walked over, knelt beside him, pulled out his knife, tested the edge with his thumb. You know Apache customs, Mr. Crenshaw. Get away from me. We have one for traitors. Very old. Very slow. The chief smiled. Start with the eyelids, then the tongue, then... You're bluffing. The colonel wouldn't allow. The colonel stepped outside, Brennan said, walking through the entrance. Can't see anything from out here. Crenshaw's face went white. You can't. I'm a federal agent. There are laws. My daughter is dead because of you. Thunder Voice's knife touched Crenshaw's face, drew a thin line of blood. What law covers that? Wait. Crenshaw's voice cracked. I'll do it. Make the contact. Thunder Voice stood. Good choice. Dawn came gray through smoke. Tom sat beside Julia, arms still connected, watching color return to her face. The child moved under her dress, visible ripples across her belly. Enough, Dr. Marcus said, disconnecting the tube. Any more and you'll pass out. Tom's head spun when he stood. Thunder Voice caught his arm, steadied him. You give blood like Apache now. Makes you family. Thought I had to save a life for that. You did. Outside, soldiers and warriors prepared weapons. Strange sight, blue uniforms and war paint side by side. Red Knife drawing maps in the dirt for Lieutenant Patterson. Colonel Brennan approached Tom. You're in no shape to ride. I'm going. Brennan. My choice. Colonel, my fight. The colonel looked at Julia, still unconscious but breathing steady. For her, for all of it. The empty chairs, the choosing sides, the chance to stop a war. Brennan nodded. Mount up in 10 minutes. They rode out as sun broke the horizon. 20 soldiers, 10 Apache warriors, 1 bound Indian agent, and Tom swaying in his saddle. Desert flowers stayed with Julia and the healers. Skeleton Canyon opened like a wound in the earth. Red rocks, shadows still dark, perfect for ambush. They stopped, a mile out. "I go in alone," Crenshaw said. His wrists were untied, but Red Knife's rifle aimed at his back. "Tell them I brought one buyer to verify the merchandise. Standard protocol." "Who?" Colonel Brennan asked. Tom straightened in his saddle. "Me. You can barely ride. They know me. Neutral trader. Makes sense I'd be buying." Thunder Voice rode up beside him. "Two buyers are better. Apache and White. Show unity in purchase." "You're the chief. They'll recognize. They'll see Apache wanting guns. Nothing strange in that." Colonel Brennan looked between them. "If this goes wrong, you're both dead." "Then we die trying," Thunder Voice said. They rode in slow, Crenshaw leading, Tom and Thunder Voice flanking him. The canyon narrowed, walls rising steep. Perfect kill box. The smugglers waited at the wash crossing. 20 men, mixed Mexican and American. Wagons behind them covered with canvas. The leader, scarred face and silver teeth, recognized Crenshaw. "You're early, senor." "Eager buyers," Crenshaw said, his voice almost steady. Silverteeth looked at Tom, then Thunder Voice. "Strange companions. Strange times." Tom dismounted, legs barely holding. "Mind if we verify the merchandise?" "Of course." Silverteeth led them to the wagons, pulled back canvas, crates of rifles. Winchester 1876 models. Ammunition, enough to start a war or end one. 200 rifles, Silverteeth said. As promised. Tom picked up a rifle, checked the action. Price, $20 each. Gold. Fair? Thunder Voice examined another rifle. "Good weapons. My warriors will be pleased." That's when Tom saw it. Movement on the canyon rim. Soldiers and Apache moving into position. But one smuggler saw it too. His eyes went wide. "Trap!" he shouted in Spanish. Guns came up fast. Tom grabbed Crenshaw, pulled him down as bullets flew. Thunder Voice rolled behind a wagon wheel, his rifle already firing. The canyon exploded. Soldiers firing from the rim. Apache warriors from the other side. Smugglers caught between. Silverteeth aimed at Tom. Tom's Colt cleared leather, fired. The smuggler spun, collapsed. Another smuggler charged Thunder Voice with a knife. The chief's rifle spoke point blank. Tom saw Crenshaw crawling toward a horse. "Let him!" The Indian agent made it 3 steps before Red Knife's arrow caught him between the shoulders. Crenshaw looked down at the shaft sprouting from his chest, confused, then fell face first in the sand. The fight lasted minutes but felt like hours. When the smoke cleared, 12 smugglers were down. The rest had surrendered. 2 soldiers wounded. 1 Apache. Colonel Brennan rode down from the rim. "Secure those weapons." Soldiers began loading the wagons. Thunder Voice walked to where Crenshaw lay, pulled out his arrow, wiped it clean. "For Morning Dove." Red Knife stood beside him. "It's not enough. Nothing would be—" "No, but it's a start." Tom sat on a rock, head spinning from blood loss and gunfire. The rifles were secure. The evidence against Senator Rourke would go public. The war stopped before it started, but the cost, always a cost. 6 months later, snow dusted the ground around Tom's cabin, but inside, warmth filled every corner. His main room, once empty save for a table and 2 chairs, now held 20 people, Apache and townspeople, sharing the same space, same meal. Julia stood by the window, 4-month-old James in her arms. The baby had Tom's eyes somehow, though that was impossible. Just seemed that way from all the time Tom spent holding him. "Ready?" Tom asked. She nodded, shifted the baby to one arm, took Tom's hand with the other. Outside. More people gathered. The ranch had changed, new building going up for a trading post, proper barn, even a school. The sacred spring now had benches where Apache and settler children played together. Thunder Voice waited by the spring, wearing his ceremonial clothes. Pastor Williams from town stood beside him, Bible in hand. 2 faiths, 1 ceremony. "Never thought I'd see this," Williams said. "Things change." Thunder Voice replied, "My daughter taught me that." Desert Flower stood as Julia's witness. Sarah Mills, the store owner's wife, stood for Tom. Colonel Brennan had come from Fort Grant with Dr. Marcus. Even Lieutenant Patterson was there, looking uncomfortable but present. "We gather," Thunder Voice began, "to join two lives already joined by sacrifice." Pastor Williams added, "What God has brought together through trial and circumstance." Tom barely heard the words. He watched Julia's face, the child in her arms, the people gathered around them, Apache and White, former enemies now witnesses. Red Knife stood apart, still wrestling with his choices. But he'd come. That meant something. "Do you, Tom Brennan, take this woman?" "I do." "Do you, Julia Morrison, take this man?" "I do." Bye. Thunder Voice pulled out a blanket, wrapped it around both their shoulders. Apache tradition. Pastor Williams had them exchange rings. Tom's mother's ring, kept in a drawer for 20 years. "By the authority granted me by the territory of Arizona," Williams began, "and by Apache law recognized since time began," Thunder Voice added, "we pronounce you husband and wife." Tom kissed Julia as snow began falling harder. Baby James squealed between them. The crowd cheered Apache war cries mixing with settler applause. They moved inside for the feast. Tom's table, built for two, now surrounded by borrowed chairs and makeshift benches. Apache fry bread next to Sarah Mills' cornbread. Venison from Red Knife's hunt beside beef from town. "Never thought I'd be eating at this table," Sheriff Whelan said, passing the potatoes to Joseph Crow Feather. The old healer smiled, said something in Apache. Desert Flower translated, "He says good food needs no words." Children ran through, Apache and White playing tag. One knocked over a water pitcher. Julia moved to clean it, but Tom caught her hand. "Let it be," he said. She looked at him, understood. The perfect wasn't important. The gathering was. As evening came, people began leaving. Handshakes between former enemies, promises to meet again. The trading post would open next month, neutral ground for all. Thunder Voice was last to go. He stood at the door, looked at Tom. "Your empty chair? What about it?" The chief pointed at the table. Every seat filled with dishes, cups, memories of the day. Not empty anymore. After everyone left, Tom and Julia sat at the table, James sleeping between them. The second chair, the one Tom had set for 5 years, now permanently filled. "I need to tell you something, Ida," Julia said. "What? That first night, when you found me, I was conscious for a moment." She touched his face. "I saw you choose, saw you decide to help. You could have walked away." "No, I couldn't." "Why?" Tom thought about it, about the empty years, the fence sitting, the nothing that his life had become. "Because Mourning Dove was right. Peace does have a face. Just took me too long to see it." Julia leaned against him, the baby warm between them. Outside, snow covered the sacred spring, the new buildings, the fresh graves on the hillside where they'd buried Mourning Dove's memory with Apache and Christian rites both. "You saved my life," Julia said. "We saved each other." Tom looked around his cabin. Dishes from the feast, gifts from the wedding Apache beadwork, settler quilts, a cradle Red Knife had carved. His home transformed from emptiness to abundance. The empty chair tradition was ended. In its place, something harder but better, a table where anyone could sit, where former enemies broke bread, where a lonely rancher and a hunted widow could build something new. Tom had saved one life, but Julia was wrong about the rest. He hadn't gained a world. They'd built one, together. Sometimes the most profound changes begin with the simplest choices. A door opened to a stranger, a hand extended across old wounds. I've told you Tom Brennan's story not because it's unique, but because it's universal. We all have empty chairs at our tables, Spaces we've set for 5 years or 50, waiting for someone or something we can't quite name. Tom thought he was saving Julia Morrison that morning by the sacred spring, but really, he was saving himself from the slow death of neutrality. You see, standing in the middle, refusing to choose, that's not peace. It's just another kind of dying. The real miracle wasn't that Apache and settlers shared his table 6 months later. It was that one lonely man finally understood that courage isn't about the gun you carry, but the hand you extend. Mourning Dove knew this. She died believing strangers could become family. That enemy lines were just stories we tell ourselves. Every empty chair is a choice waiting to happen. Every stranger at your door might be the one who fills it. Tom Brennan learned this almost too late. But almost is still in time. Disclaimer. This is a work of fiction created solely for entertainment purposes. All characters, events, and situations depicted in this story are entirely fictional and products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. This story does not condone, promote, or encourage any form of violence, discrimination, or harmful behavior toward any individual or group. The historical setting and conflicts portrayed are fictional dramatizations and should not be interpreted as accurate historical documentation or as endorsement of any actions depicted within the narrative.